Hi friends, today we're going to be drawing a seahorse, and this is a suitable lesson for children 5 to 10. For a little more advanced 5-year-olds, we're going to be drawing this seahorse, and I put some really neat seagrass because seahorse actually live in seagrass. That's one of the protective things that they do. And this is kind of a generic seahorse. It's not a specific breed of seahorse, but it's got a lot of really great kind of curvy lines. They have that prehensile tail that really can grab and hold on to vegetation. And we're going to start our drawing today with the eye, but let's look a minute for the shapes that we're going to use to draw the seahorse. And I'm going to be drawing on this big piece of paper here, but I have a small test piece of paper, and I just want to show you some of the shapes that we're going to be using to draw today. And we're going to be drawing with a circle, and a circle is anything roundish and empty. And as we did his eye, it's kind of an interesting looking eye. But if I were to draw something roundish and fill it in, my brain is going to read that as a dot. So I have circles and dots. I have straight lines, I have curved lines, and some curved lines can be really curvy, but I have mostly gentle curved lines that I've used on this particular drawing. And I have angle lines. Angle lines are lines that bend so much they come to a point. So I've got a couple there of angle lines there at the top of the crown of his head. And so those are the shapes that we're going to be using to draw today. If you want to get a piece of paper and practice drawing straight lines, curved lines, and angle lines, it might make it a little easier before you get drawing with your before you start your drawing today. And I'm using a Papermate black flare tip pen, and I'm doing that because I don't want to stop and erase. I don't want to reinforce my brain that I've drawn something I don't like or I've made a mistake, because truly in drawing there's no such thing as a mistake. You might draw something you don't like, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a mistake. That just means I need to work on that area some more. Sometimes if I draw something I don't care for, I rework that area and it becomes my favorite part of my drawing. Or I can put something in front of it, or I can modify that just a little bit. So today we're going to be starting with that eye. I've done my paper here in landscape mode. If you want to do your drawing this way, it's totally okay. You're just not going to have as much room to put kind of neat things in the background, and you'll have a larger maybe seahorse. So I'm going to put just a little tiny dot on my paper right about here in the middle of my page so that I have room to put all those pieces and parts. And I'm going to start with drawing a small circle. Now this is his eye. We want to try and get it just about a really beautiful looking eye. I'm going to actually draw it twice with you so you can see it a little bit bigger on this piece of paper. You don't want to draw too tiny. So if you draw a really tiny circle, you might use that for the middle part of his eye. So the eye is a big circle with a little tiny circle in the middle, and then I'm going to do straight lines that come out and touch. So here's my circle. I'm going to do a smaller circle in the middle and do straight lines that connect those out. And to make it look a little bit more real, I'm going to do a second curved line just on the bottom part of this eye and make it have a little bit of a shadow. Because seahorse eyes actually jut out, they bounce out from their body just a little bit, they poke out a little bit. So that'll make that eye look a little more real. So I know it's an unusual looking eye, but that's what a seahorse eye looks like. And we're going to start drawing his head first. Put that paper to the side. And I am going to do a curved line right above and come down with a little straight line. This is part of the crown on his head. And he's got kind of a bigger jaw, but I'm going to do a gentle curved line underneath that comes up. So I've got a gentle curved line that goes one way, and then it goes the other direction. Makes just a little bit of a kind of like a lazy S laying down there on the side. Now he's got this long nose, and so I'm going to do a gentle curved line here, and I'm going to overlap it here and bring it so that it comes to a little bit skinnier. See how wide it is here? And it's a little bit skinnier on this end. Now, a seahorse has kind of a bump on the end of his nose, so I'm going to do a little tiny curved line, a little tiny curve line, and connect those two pieces. And let's make it a little bit of a shadow. So I'm going to double that line so it gives it a little more depth. This will make it look a little more real. And a gentle curve line underneath here that comes up and touches underneath there. Now, if you wanted to, you can make this, when you're coloring it, you can color it a little bit darker color. That's going to really give it some nice shading. Okay, so let's go back to our main drawing here. And I want you to notice, I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher, this curve line over on the top. So I've extended this line up a little bit, and I'm going to, it comes to a point, so that makes an angle line. But because I've lifted my pen, I'm actually making two curve lines. And I want you to say curve line every time you draw a curve line. Here's another one. It's going to go in the opposite direction. So another curve line that goes in the opposite direction and comes back. It almost is like you're giving him horns, which kind of is what this looks like. Then he has actually a really kind of big curve line that comes over here to the side, and a little straight line that comes down. And then I'm going to do a big kind of curvy line and give it a little bit of a bump just to connect those all together. And that's really the shape of his head. But to give it a little more depth, I'm going to go ahead and put a curved line right here. This gives the illusion that this part of the head is coming off the page just a little bit. And seahorse have fins on their head and they have fins on their back. They don't have arms. It's kind of a weird thing. They just don't have arms. They have fins. So let's go ahead and do this fin. And I'm going to start here near this kind of area here. I'm going to do a gentle curve line coming up here and a gentle curve line here at the bottom. This is going to start my curved area. And I'm going to do a gentle, just a series of little wavy, gentle curve lines to connect all that. And let's give it some curve lines that connect. So I've given it some gentle curve lines that can go out. They don't have to touch like this one. I didn't make touch all the way. And then there's a second curve line, second kind of fin that comes off. So I'm going to do a curve line, the start and the end. This is the start and the end. It's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to do another series of curve lines. Okay, so I've done my head. Now, seahorse, they're actually really small. If a seahorse were here, it's only about that big. They're really tiny, but they have some kind of bumps on their body. So I'm going to come back under his chin, which is really his chin, and I'm going to do a really curved line. So it's going to come back almost touching, and then I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And I'm going to do a curved line that comes up, another one that comes up, another one that comes up, another one comes up, and that's going to wiggle just a little bit. Now, did you see that this didn't come out really too far? It's almost straight up and down, but I gave it a little bit of a bump in there. And then to make it look a little more real, I'm going to exaggerate these points. I'm going to come over here to the side, and I'm going to do one curve line, another curve line, another curve line, and then bring it back. This is going to help make it kind of that bumpy belly that seahorses have. And it's kind of a crest. So just like kind of dinosaurs have like a crest like this on their back, seahorse have them on their stomachs. It's kind of strange, I know, but that's what they do. And so I've brought it all the way back down to here. Now I'm going to bring this curve line back. So I've really shown where my belly is, and then I'm going to be starting my tail. Now you could have your tail going back this direction, you could have it hanging off to the side, whatever you'd like to do. But let's go ahead and do his back, and we'll bring it all the way back down to here, and then we'll decide which direction our tail is going to go to. So I'm going to come back up here to the top, and I want to do gentle curve lines that aren't too far away from what I've just done here. So I've done a gentle curve line, brought it out just a little bit, and then I'm going to do a series of curve lines that are kind of tight. And they're going to go kind of tight down here on his back until I get to a width about that far coming down his body. Now, he's got some kind of bony, it's like cartilage like we have in our ears. He's got these bony plates that are on the side of his belly. And I'm going to make them come to wherever I put those bumps. So I'm going to do gentle curve lines, 2 of them, a series. Here's one point, here's another point, another point, another point. And then I'm going to do a curve line that makes it into almost a circle around the end. So I've got kind of these interesting little pieces that come along here. And this actually is going to help him look a little more real. Let's elongate some of those curves on his back. And I'm just going to do some gentle curve lines coming in here on his back. And I gave it a little space, so I didn't make them touch those other ones, but if they touch, it's okay. Now we're going to do his big fin on his back. And I'm going to put my top part with a gentle curve line and his bottom part with another curve line. These are curve lines that are going in the same direction. And I'm going to do a series of kind of angle lines and curve lines, just make it kind of jaggedy there on his back. Gentle curve line, series of gentle curve lines coming in, and leave a little bit of space, don't make them touch. Then I'm going to do another one right behind it, make it kind of close. This is actually the back side of his fin. So if you shadow that and make it a little bit darker color when you're coloring this, it'll make it look a little more real. Okay, now let's decide which way our tail is going to go. A lot of times we think of tails kind of coming down like this and really being tight and skinny. But you could do your tail coming out that way. We just have to make sure that we have a spiral at the very end of that tail. So I'm going to do the front part because it's a little bit smoother. So I'm going to do a very big curve line comes down and it's going to stop. So here on his belly, big curve line and bring it really tight. Do you see how I made kind of a little hook there at the end? So I did a really big curve line. And if you get close to the end of your page and your object is going to go off the page, just let it go off. Don't worry about trying to squeeze something on a page. It'll look more real if we just keep up with that. Now here on the back side, we have some gentle curve lines. Some of them are a little bit sharp, but we want it to get skinnier and skinnier. And so it might help you just to put a couple of dots here because I want it a little bit wider, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, and that might help you. It's kind of like a connect the dots. So let's try and do some curve lines and touching it, curve line touching it, curve line touching it, curve line touching it, curve line touching it, and I'm going to bring it all the way around and make it touch. And let's give it some ridges here on the back. I'm going to do some little curve lines. All the way around. And now I have that tail. So I've put a lot of seagrass in this drawing, and seagrass is very easy to draw. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways to draw it, but we need to have quite a few leaves or like blades of grass. And I'm going to do a big curve line here, maybe one over here, another one over here, one over here. So I'm starting with some big curve lines. You say, well, that doesn't look like grass yet. Well, let me show you the trick here. Once you draw one curvy line, you're going to do a point on the end, and you're going to do a curve line that kind of mirrors what you just drew. It doesn't have to be exact. See, it doesn't match here. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Big, gentle curve lines. This one over here, I do a little one here, bring it over to the side, big curvy lines, and then here again on the other side. On this one, it's kind of leaning over, so let's make it a little bit smaller. And we're going to double it. Instead of going on this side, watch if I go over here. If I mirror it on this side, I can make it look like it's folded up, like a leaf that's coiled up. If I wanted to have maybe a leaf go kind of and really turn, if I start here, watch, I'm going to do a curved line. I'm going to pretend this one's in front, so this one has to go in back. Pretend that line goes all the way through over here to the other side. Now, do that same curve line. Pretend it goes all the way through, gentle curve lines coming back. This is actually going to make it look really beautiful. We have something really interesting in our drawing in the background to help accentuate what we just drew. And our last one, we'll do another one here. If you wanted to maybe try and draw a small little seahorse in the drawing with it, that would be fine. Now I did kind of some hair or some little pieces coming off. You can make your seahorse look a little different, kind of look fancy. There is something called the dragon seahorse, the leafy dragon seahorse, and he looks like a leaf. If you Google it, you'll be able to find it. But here is our drawing of a seahorse, and I hope you enjoyed drawing it with me today. Now, however long it took you to draw it, that's how long it should take you to color it. So don't go too fast. If you've enjoyed the drawing today and would like to see more drawings, subscribe to my page or send me a note and say, I would like to learn how to draw this object or this subject matter, and I will look into posting some more videos. Thanks again for drawing with me today. I've enjoyed drawing with you.